Not even a goodbye. Not even a fight. Just a cold silence wrapped in a single notification: you can no longer send messages to this user. That was the first day of our engagement. And for the next 363 days, I waited. I waited like a fool. I believed her excuses. Work is crazy. I'm traveling again. My mom's not well. She'd vanish for weeks. Then drop a casual message. Then vanish again. Ghosting me, her fiancé, like I was nothing more than a desperate admirer clinging to a memory. But I wasn't always this pathetic. Before her, I was sharp, successful, and respected. The kind of man who didn't beg for love. Who didn't break when someone broke a promise. Until Maya. Maya was the girl who said yes with tears in her eyes, clutching the ring like it was her breath. The girl who whispered, "I want forever," right before disappearing into thin air. And now, after exactly 365 days, I saw her again. Not by accident. Not at a cafe. But at a wedding. My cousin's wedding. Where she was laughing. Hugging guests, wearing a rose-red dress that used to be hers and mine in our engagement photos. And worse? She wasn't alone. He stood beside her, tall, cocky, with his hand casually placed on the small of her back. The same hand that had been on her waist in that picture I once saw by mistake. The picture she claimed was bold. He kissed her cheek like he owned her. And that's when something inside me snapped. I didn't storm out. I didn't cause a scene. No. That would have been too easy. I smiled. Because in that moment, I realized something. She didn't vanish by accident. She vanished, by design. And now? She has no idea what's coming. Maya and I met in med school. Cliché? Maybe. But there was nothing cliché about the way she walked into a lecture late that day, soaked in rain, defiant, breathless, and still stole every pair of eyes in the room. She sat beside me, unbothered, opened her laptop, and asked, "Do you always highlight like a psychopath, or is this your anxious phase?" I hated her for that comment. Then I fell for her 2 weeks later. Maya was unpredictable, stubborn, and brilliantly clever. She hated small talk and adored medical ethics debates. We studied through the nights, fought about philosophy, kissed during our rotations, and somehow, between stress and caffeine, we fell in love. Or so I thought. She was ambitious, top of the class, multiple fellowships lined up, offers from abroad. I was more grounded, already settled into a well-paying residency. We were different, but I saw our contrast as balance. When I proposed to her, on our 4th anniversary at the same bench we first kissed, she cried. Not just tears, but a whole shaking, overwhelmed flood of them. She whispered yes like it hurt. That should have been my first sign. But I ignored it. Because love makes you blind, and hope makes you deaf. The first week after the proposal was perfect. We celebrated. Told our parents. Even planned an engagement dinner. But then the shift started. "Sorry, I've got a paper due. I need to fly to Karachi for a conference. My aunt's sick, I'll be gone for a while." I trusted her. Why wouldn't I? She had a ring on her finger and history with me. But her replies slowed. Then stopped. She dodged my calls. Texted in monosyllables. Postponed the dinner 3 times. Then came the silence. Cold. Brutal. Wordless silence. I told myself it was stressful. That she'd come around. Maybe she needed space. But weeks turned into months. My friends started to ask uncomfortable questions. My family, especially my mother, grew suspicious. "Hey, there is no one else?" she asked once. I laughed it off. Because betrayal was unthinkable. Maya wasn't like that. Or so I told myself. Even as my heart started to crack, I defended her. When her social media vanished, I said maybe she was going off-grid. When my birthday passed and she didn't call, I said she probably forgot under pressure. When I saw her tagged in a blurry background of someone's post at a beach resort with a man I didn't know, I told myself it wasn't her. But late at night, those lies stopped working. My pride kept me from chasing her. I didn't want to be the man who begged. But I was hurting, badly. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus, couldn't let go. She wasn't just my fiancée. She was my best friend, my future, the one who knew me when I was broke, insecure, and uncertain. The one who once promised, even if the world forgets you, I won't. But she did. And while I stood frozen in that limbo of false hope, she moved on. Without a word. That year was the loneliest of my life. I buried myself in work. Cut ties with mutual friends. Deleted every photo of us from my phone. But the memories lived, mocking me every time I walked past a coffee shop we used to haunt or heard a stupid indie song she used to hum. Until last week. When I got a call from my cousin Adil. Bro, the wedding's finally happening. And guess what? Maya's helping out. I think she's friends with my fiancé. That name. That bomb. Just dropped casually. My heart didn't just skip, it shattered again. But I kept my voice even. I said I'd be there. And I came, dressed sharp, smiling coolly, walking like I hadn't spent 365 days trying to forget the woman I was supposed to marry. That brings us here. To the wedding. To Maya in red. To the man beside her who thinks he's already won. But he hasn't. Because something changed in me tonight. For a year, I wanted closure. I wanted the truth. But now? I want justice. And I'll get it. Not by screaming. Not by begging. But by making sure that Maya understands what it feels like to be erased, discarded, and forgotten. Not once. But forever. The wedding was in full bloom. Laughs echoed, camera flashes sparkled, and petals rained over Adil and his bride. I stood among the crowd, pretending. Pretending to enjoy it. Pretending to smile. Pretending my past wasn't standing just 20 feet away in red satin, acting like we'd never existed. Maya hadn't seen me. But the man beside her did. He glanced once. Twice. Then again. As if I triggered something uncomfortable in his gut. Tall. Athletic. Beard trimmed to perfection. The kind of man who knew he looked good and didn't mind taking what wasn't his. He leaned into Maya, whispered something. She laughed, light and free. I hadn't heard that laugh in a year. I didn't know whether to be heartbroken or disgusted. Then, she turned. And froze. Her eyes met mine. Her smile evaporated. The color in her face drained faster than champagne in Adil's glass. She wasn't expecting me. And that told me everything. She hadn't told him I'd be here. Good. I walked over. Not fast. Not slow. Just enough to keep her breath caught in her throat. Her hand gripped his arm a little tighter, like she needed grounding. Hi, Maya, I said, calm, cool, the ice beneath a firestorm. Zane, she replied, barely audible. I smiled at the guy. And you must be? He extended his hand, hesitant. Hassan. I've heard a lot about you. Interesting. Not, nice to meet you. Just, I've heard about you. My curiosity turned to suspicion. I turned back to Maya. You look well. Very, present. She looked like she wanted to say something but couldn't decide what emotion to land on. Her lips twitched, then stayed shut. You guys together? I asked, feigning cluelessness. Maya gave a faint nod. Serious? No answer. Hassan smirked. Engaged, actually. The room tilted. Engaged. She didn't just move on. She replaced me, without breaking off the first engagement. And now she was flaunting it in front of me, like it was some casual status update. My blood ran cold, but I didn't flinch. Oh, congrats, I said, chuckling softly. That makes two of us, well, until one of us ghosted the other for a year. Maya winced. Hassan looked confused. Ghosted? I turned to him. You mean she didn't tell you? That I proposed to her? That we were engaged for a whole year before she vanished like a magician's trick? He stared at Maya. She turned pale. Maya? He asked slowly, voice flat. She opened her mouth, but I cut in. Don't worry. I'm not here to start drama. I just wanted to say congrats. You're both clearly made for each other. Then I walked away, leaving them to simmer in the aftermath. But it didn't end there. 10 minutes later, I was near the dessert table when I heard whispering. Heated. Urgent. I turned just enough to eavesdrop. You said it was over. Hassan hissed. You said you were never engaged. It was over, she insisted. We hadn't spoken for months. I thought he'd moved on. You were wearing the ring until October. It was just a habit. I didn't want to hurt him. Then why didn't you just tell him? I was going to. But then you and things got complicated, and Complicated? I smiled to myself. There it was. The real Maya. She didn't vanish out of confusion. She disappeared because she was already cheating. She used silence as her shield. Let me rot in confusion while she played innocent with a new man. That wasn't an accident. It was a strategy. And now it was coming apart in public. A few guests were starting to glance their way. Even Adil's bride paused mid-photo, sensing the tension. Maya noticed the attention and stepped away from Hassan, forcing a smile onto her face like it was glued. I waited a few beats, then casually walked past her again, this time dropping the final dagger. By the way, Maya, I said with that same cold smile, I kept the receipts. The ring, the flights, the dinner reservations. Everything. Don't worry, though, I'll write it off as charity. Her face burned red. Zane, don't. I leaned in just a bit. You're right. I won't cause a scene. I'll do better. She blinked. I'll tell one. And then I walked off. No yelling, no begging, no closure. Because the best stories don't start with love. They start with betrayal. And mine? Had just begun. I thought exposing Maya's first betrayal would be enough. But some people don't fall with one push. Some people grab others on the way down. The next day, I got a call. From Hassan. Zane, he said, voice tight, we need to talk. Alone. We met at a quiet coffee shop across town. He looked wrecked, bloodshot eyes, jaw clenched. His phone was filled with screenshots. Old messages. Maya's selfies. One in particular caught my attention, Maya in a hotel robe, timestamped 3 weeks before our engagement, sent to Hassan. 3 weeks before she said yes to my proposal. I felt sick. She was playing both of us, he muttered. She told me she'd ended it with you. But clearly, she hadn't. He wasn't asking for sympathy. He was confirming the timeline. Connecting dots. So why call me? I asked, arms folded. He sighed. Because I found something else. He pulled out a file. Printed emails. Legal documents. A contract for a joint apartment lease, in both our names. One I never signed. One with forged consent. Maya's handwriting, my name. It hit me like a slap. She hadn't just ghosted me. She had kept using my name, my identity, for months. She used it to negotiate a sublet deal. Claimed she had your permission. Then skipped town and left the landlord unpaid. He's been chasing the name on the lease, yours. I clenched my fists under the table. It wasn't just emotional betrayal now. It was a fraud. And this, Hassan added, is just one thread. Turns out, Maya had been playing a deeper game. After disappearing from my life, she'd used our engagement status for sympathy points, getting free consultations, discounts from vendors, and even help from my friends under the pretense of, "Zane's too busy, I'm handling it." One of my close friends, Tanya, who ran a wedding decor business, reached out that night. "I didn't want to believe it," she messaged. "But Maya used your name to book venues she never paid for. She said you were handling the deposits. She owes my company almost 2 lakhs. My name. My face. My trust. Used like currency. Then discarded." I went numb. How do you even process that level of betrayal? I wasn't just a broken heart. I was collateral damage and a con. And worst of all, people thought I was in on it. Hassan messaged again, "There's more." He sent me a screenshot of a group chat, Maya's private WhatsApp group with 3 girls I didn't know. In it, she joked about how easy it was to keep both men hooked. One message in particular read, "Zane's so noble, he'll probably forgive me even if I burn down his house. Might keep him on standby if this fellowship falls through LOL. LOL. 3 letters that crushed whatever scraps of love I still clung to. But the worst was yet to come. A week after the wedding, I received a letter from my hospital's HR department. A formal inquiry. One of Maya's fellowship recommendation letters, supposedly signed by me, was flagged as suspicious. My department head hadn't received any such request. My name was forged again. This time, under hospital letterhead. It was official now. I wasn't just a man recovering from a failed engagement. I was the center of a growing fraud investigation. And Maya? She was silent. No apologies. No justifications. Just, gone again. But I wasn't the man she ghosted a year ago. I wasn't confused anymore. I was furious. And I wasn't alone. Hassan and I started talking, frequently. It was odd, bonding with the guy who replaced me, but we were both victims of the same architect. He admitted he'd confronted her again. She broke down, said she was scared, that she panicked, that Zane was too perfect, and she couldn't handle the pressure of expectations. He almost forgave her. Until she confessed something else. She said she was pregnant, he told me. But when I offered to go to the hospital with her, she backtracked. Said she miscarried. Then admitted she lied. For sympathy. I stared at him. She told me that too. Same lie. 2 years ago. He looked sick. She used the same manipulation on both of us, twice. This wasn't heartbreak. This was pathology. We were dealing with someone who didn't just lie to protect herself. She lied to control. A month passed. Maya vanished again. No social media. No updates. Nothing. But people started whispering. One of her friends slipped up and mentioned something about her moving to Dubai. Another claimed she was pursuing a fast-tracked medical fellowship there. Until one day, I got an email. Anonymous sender. No message. Just one attachment. Maya, dressed in formal whites, receiving a grant award on a hospital stage in Dubai. And beside her? A man I recognized. My former mentor. Dr. Farouk. He was her reference. She'd gotten into Dubai using his influence, someone I introduced her to. And worse? She was listed under my old research project, the one I'd abandoned after we broke up. She stole everything. Love. Money. Identity. Credit. It wasn't enough to break my heart. She had to rewrite me out of my own story. And now? It was time to write a new chapter. One where Maya wasn't the heroine anymore. The first rule of revenge is simple. Don't get mad. Get calculating. I'd been mad for a year. It got me nowhere. But calculation? That's where I thrive. I spent 2 weeks assembling everything Maya left in her wake: receipts, messages, call logs, signatures she faked, leases she signed under my name, screenshots from Hassan, voice notes from old friends. But more importantly, I interviewed her victims. Not just me. Not just Hassan. But Tanya, the wedding vendor. Salman, a classmate she borrowed $50,000 from for family emergencies. Zoya, an ex-roommate she scammed out of rent. Even an HR assistant from her Dubai hospital, who slipped up and revealed Maya submitted her medical thesis using my old notes and citations. I documented everything. Organized it into folders: financial fraud, identity manipulation, academic theft, emotional exploitation. It was surgical. Then I wrote one line at the top of every file. For when the truth is louder than the apology she'll never give. She thought she vanished clean. She thought I was soft. So I gave her the opposite. I created a public blog under a pseudonym, Engaged to a Ghost. I detailed the emotional arc, from love to betrayal, from silence to suspicion. Every post was raw, first person, deeply vulnerable, but strategically anonymous. Names were obscured, but details weren't. And the audience? Grew fast. Within weeks, hundreds of readers shared stories of similar ghostings and emotional abuse. It struck a nerve. Because it wasn't just about Maya anymore. It was about a pattern. People shared. Screenshots leaked. Someone even posted an old picture of Maya and me, without knowing who we were. And someone tagged her. Her silence shattered. She messaged me. "What the hell is this blog? Are you trying to ruin me?" I didn't reply. She wasn't used to being ignored. She sent a voice note. Crying. "Zain, please. You don't understand the pressure I was under. I never meant to hurt you. You're better than this. Don't stoop." I deleted it. Then I posted about manipulative apologies and guilt-tripping. My readers ate it up. She just handed me new content on a silver platter. I contacted Dr. Farouk. Not as myself. As a concerned research partner. I sent him a formal query, a list of project results and thesis citations that Maya had supposedly authored. All of them traced back to papers I had submitted years earlier, with dates, timestamps, and a signed timestamp from my university email. It wasn't long before I got a call. "Zain, is Maya using your thesis as hers?" I didn't answer directly. Instead, I sent him a folder titled, "Everything You Didn't See." 2 weeks later, Maya's profile was removed from the hospital's website. She messaged again. This time I was desperate. "You don't know what you've done. That fellowship was everything. My family, my father, is expecting." I blocked her. Because when she ghosted me, she taught me how to go silent too. Next, Hassan. He was still angry, but still hesitant. "She deserves karma," he told me. "But are we sure we're not becoming her?" I looked him straight in the eye. "We're not lying. We're just showing the truth. And she built a life on borrowed truths. He nodded. So, together, we exposed her trail. We submitted a complaint to the medical council with proof of credential fraud. We emailed her new hospital, forwarding the forged letter from my old workplace. And then, just to be surgical, we reached out to 3 of her former classmates, now well-placed in the medical community in Dubai. Quietly. Professionally. We didn't scream. We whispered. And whispered rumors travel farther than shouted truths. It all came to a head one night when I got a message from a mutual acquaintance. Check Twitter. She's trending. Hashtags. Threads. Screenshots. People pieced together her patterns. Some attacked. Others defended. But one thing was clear, her name wasn't clean anymore. And in a field like medicine, reputation is currency. She tried to post a statement, a vague apology about mental health and toxic pressure from male figures. But the blog followers weren't having it. One by one, commenters who had been ghosted, used, or lied to, stepped forward. The truth had grown legs. I wasn't interested in destroying her life completely. Just reclaiming mine. So I met with hospital HR, cleared my name formally. I helped Tanya file a small claim suit for her unpaid dues. I rejoined my old research group, and released an updated version of my thesis with full authorship credited to me. And I kept the blog. I renamed it, after the ghost. I started posting stories from others. Healing stories. Triumphs. Lessons. It became bigger than revenge. It became a legacy. But the best moment? 2 months later, I got a LinkedIn notification. Maya had sent a connection request. No message. Just the request. I stared at it for a full minute. Then declined. And blocked her. Not out of pettiness. Out of power. Because forgiveness isn't about letting someone off the hook. It's about reclaiming the hook they left in you, and breaking it. I got my life back. And she? She disappeared from mine, for real this time. Not because she chose to. But because I did. And just when I thought the chapter had closed, a new message arrived. From another girl I'd never met. One line. You don't know me, but Maya used me too. Some stories end in forgiveness. Mine ended in silence. Not the kind Maya gave me for a year. This time, the silence was mine. Deliberate. Peaceful. Powerful. Maya didn't go to jail. There was no dramatic courtroom scene. No screaming confessions. No violent finales. But justice doesn't always need a spotlight. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's watching someone lose the illusion of who they thought they were, brick by brick, mask by mask. She lost her research fellowship. Lost professional credibility. Lost the circle of people who once covered for her. Every bridge she thought would protect her became ash under her own footsteps. And me? I moved on. I didn't just heal, I rebuilt. I moved to a new city. I joined a new hospital. I started mentoring junior doctors the way I wished someone had mentored me through all of this. I stopped asking why. Stopped revisiting the nights I stayed up wondering what I did wrong. Because I finally accepted the truth. I didn't do anything wrong. She did. She lied. She used it. She ran. But I survived. Not just that, I thrived. And that is the sweetest revenge of all. Because nothing breaks a manipulator like watching their victim live well without them. But remember that message? You don't know me, but Maya used me too. I responded cautiously. The girl's name was Sana. She was in med school 2 years below Maya. They were roommates briefly, before Maya left the university mid-semester claiming a toxic environment. Sana found some of Maya's old journals. Screenshots. A hard drive. Everything she thought had been erased. Sana wanted to talk. She wasn't looking for drama. She wanted truth. What did she show me? It was darker than I imagined. Multiple aliases on freelance forums. Identity theft beyond just mine. Patients misled. Credentials fabricated. Even blackmail material, emotional manipulation that crossed legal lines. What if Maya wasn't done? What if Dubai wasn't the last stop? What if this wasn't about one love story gone wrong? What if Maya was doing this again, somewhere else? So I'm not done either. I thought this chapter was over. But maybe it was just book 1. And if you've made it this far, then you're not just a viewer. You're part of the story now. Because somewhere out there, someone else is being fooled by her smile. And maybe, just maybe, our next episode will be the reckoning she never saw coming.